Hi everyone, I'm Tim German, the ODTUG President, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to wish you a warm welcome to the ODTUG Kscope21 virtual event. We're really thrilled to see so many people getting back together. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the ODTUG community that I've personally been a part of for over 10 years now. Membership of that community has been a vital part of my professional life, from connections and friendships that have developed meeting people at Kscope conferences, the conversations in hallways outside sessions about mutual challenges, and getting to learn from people generously sharing their experience and knowledge. This community is what makes ODTUG so much more than a training provider or a simple professional association, and everyone here today is a member of and contributor to that. Some particular community members I'd like to recognize are the last two conference committees for Kscope 20 and 21 and the content selection teams who reviewed hundreds and hundreds of abstracts. These volunteers planned both Boston and Nashville conferences so diligently and then graciously rolled with the rapidly changing situation as we made painful but necessary decisions to cancel those as in-person events and pivot to virtual. And I'd also like to thank everyone who submitted an abstract, whether selected or not, because that generosity and willingness to share is really at the heart of what we do. I'd also like to warmly encourage people to participate in the Kscope Connect and Mingle and Wit sessions that our conference chair, Kevin McGinley, will talk about in a few minutes, because those offer the opportunity to catch up with old friends and continue forging new friendships and relationships even in the virtual context. The past 15 months of the pandemic have contained so many challenges, from work disruption to minor day-to-day irritations to profound personal tragedies. And we can't talk about our community and COVID without acknowledging that there have been some terrible losses. Just a few weeks ago, we were shocked to learn of the tragic passing of Joel Kalman, and everyone at ODTUG wants to honor Joel's tremendous contributions. To talk about Joel a little bit more, I'd like to hand over to the ODTUG Vice President, Karen Cannell.
Karen Cannell, ODTUG Vice President, and honoring Joel. Those of us in the Apex community know what a huge asset Joel has been, not just to Apex people, but to ODTUG, of course, and to all Oracle user groups, and quite likely to all communities Joel ever entered. And for that, we are forever grateful. Very proud to have had Joel among us for as long as we had, and his influence will certainly last. For anyone who has not seen Joel's message from the Apex at Home event, which was in April of 2020 at the start of the pandemic, please take the time to listen to that message. It's truly Joel at his finest, bringing people, developers, together to use what we have, what we know, to help others. And Joel truly lived and practiced that spirit of service above self, elevate and help others that he talks about in that message. It is with that spirit in mind that we dedicate Kscope21 to Joel Kalman and the Apex team that he was such a central part of. With this dedication, we ask not just you remember Joel, his immediate family, his Apex family, his Oracle family, but more we ask you, challenge you to carry on his spirit and his passion for Oracle technology and for giving back. As you attend sessions this Kscope, remember Joel's words that we as IT workers are essential. Let's prove that we're not just a technical community that likes to talk about and use software. And trust me, those of us at ODTUG and Kscopes, we can talk. But let's show that we are, instead, in Joel's words, a collection of empowered people, empowered, amazing human beings who can collectively improve others' lives. So let's continue with Joel's hashtags of let's wreck this together and make Oracle cool again. But let's add one more. Let's carry this forward. And as you attend sessions at Kscope, bring back what you know to your work, but carry it on, carry it forward, and help someone else. And with that, please enjoy your conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That was a wonderful tribute, and I'm glad we can honor Joel by dedicating Kscope21 to him. Hi, my name is Kevin McGinley, and I am your Kscope21 conference chair. Let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the Kscope21 virtual event. Although this is not the Kscope21 we all wanted, thank you for being here with us over the next 2 weeks, and I hope you'll find that the ODTUG community can still thrive at a virtual event like this. As a planning committee, we spent a lot of time discussing how to make a virtual event feel as close as possible to the real thing, and we hope that you like everything we have in store for you. But before I get into those cool details, this event wouldn't have been possible without a lot of key contributors, starting with our vendors. Thank you, Applied OLAP, for sponsoring us at the titanium level this year. We'll get to hear from Tim Toe in a little bit, but I want to thank Tim personally for their partnership with ODTUG. Thank you to our platinum sponsors, Alithia, EPMI, and Peloton, our gold sponsors, Huron and SC&H, our silver and wit sponsor, KPMG, our bronze sponsors, Inspirage and Insum, and to our exhibitors, OneCloud, DataVeil, Excel Alpha, and Proficient, we appreciate your investment in our community. And lastly, to our past Kscope vendors who chose not to be with us this year, we understand that you had some tough choices to make, and we hope that we'll see you again when we resume in-person Kscope next year. Beyond our vendors, this event wouldn't have been possible without several other groups of people whom I want to thank now. First, to my conference committee, Karen, Gary, Jackie, Helen, Tony, Minnie, and Tim. This year was challenging to plan, and I thank you so much for being so patient as we navigated through the dense fog of a pandemic to get to this exciting moment where we unveil our awesome finished product to everyone. To all of the track leads and selection teams, the speakers, hands-on lab companies, and to Oracle, thank you for selecting and assembling great content for Kscope21. To all of the volunteers who are going to work heartily over the next 2 weeks, I thank you as well. And lastly, thank you to all of the amazing people at YCC. We wouldn't have made it here without you. And now let's dive in for what we have in store for you at Kscope21 beyond just our great sessions. First up is our exhibit hall. Every day from 1:40 to 2:20 Eastern Time, you'll have the opportunity to engage with our vendors like never before in our virtual exhibit hall. Given how much our vendors are responsible for making this event possible, please take the time to get to know them and their offerings by visiting their virtual booth and listening to their vendor presentations. Next, while it was physically impossible for us to gather at a community service day in Nashville, we wanted to embrace ODTUG's giving spirit, as well as everyone's desire to get a great Kscope shirt. And so we created the Gear Shop, a place where you can go to buy a Kscope21 shirt like the one that I have on. While we would have loved to send everyone a shirt, that wasn't practical. So instead, you can choose to buy one for yourself or your loved ones, and all proceeds from this Gear Shop will go to the Nashville Rescue Mission, an organization that helps the hungry and homeless in Nashville. So please, show your giving spirit by purchasing a shirt from the Gear Shop over the next 2 weeks. And Applied OLAP has generously agreed to match whatever we raise as a community. So let's show the Nashville Rescue Mission just how generous the ODTUG community is. Kscope isn't Kscope without the ability to network, and we have a few great options for you. First, after most sessions, you'll have the option to join a speaker in the Q&A room where you can turn on your audio and video and ask the speaker questions, just like walking up to them at their podium after their session ends. In addition, during the 12 to 12:40 Eastern Time slot, we will also be hosting moderated and unmoderated mingles where you can either join specific topic conversations or hop into a generic track room and start your own conversation. Room space is limited, so make sure to secure your place in the conversation. During community night at Kscope, everyone gets to blow off some steam and learn new things about some of their peers through casual, non-technical conversations and games. During our 3:20 to 4 o'clock Eastern Time slot, you'll get to do just that with our Kscope Connect sessions. In these sessions, you'll be able to play games like Drawful, Fibbage, and Answer Battle, aka Family Feud, or join fun, non-technical sessions led by some of our community members. Again, space is limited, so make sure to have some fun and join these sessions. And lastly, we know we can't assemble for an amazing Wednesday night special event, but we thought it would be fun to bring those events to you. During the same 3:20 to 4 o'clock Eastern Time slot, we'll have our Celebrate events, which give you an opportunity to enjoy Kscope cities like Boston, Nashville, and Grapevine, Texas, through our unique tour of the New England Aquarium, a live concert from Nashville recording artist Dawn Beyer, and a tour of the Dallas Zoo. I'm told the aquarium tour is already sold out, but you can still add the Dallas Zoo to your registration over at kscope21.odtug.com, and the Dawn Beyer concert has unlimited space for everyone to attend. And with that, I hope all of you have a great Kscope21. Now over to Tim Toe from Applied OLAP. Tim?
Thanks, Kevin. My name is Tim Toe. I'm the founder and president of Applied OLAP. After having served on the ODTUG board for many years, I have a lot of experience and perspective on the value of user groups to the Oracle user community. Oracle and its partners produce and implement sophisticated software for sophisticated businesses. The knowledge and expertise shared over the years by members of this user group have helped countless companies improve performance and get optimal results, and as a result have saved companies countless millions of dollars over the years. The connections made at user group meetings and conferences often last well beyond the initial meeting or conference and become really the business equivalent of the phone a friend. Over the years, I've met a number of friends at Kscope who share with me a passion for great business systems. It's in this spirit that we chose to become the titanium sponsor for Kscope21, and the reason I'm speaking with you today. I know the ODTUG board and staff have been working hard to put on a great virtual conference, and we are happy to sponsor their effort. As a vendor and sponsor, I want to thank the ODTUG board and staff for their hard work, but I'd also like to thank the other vendors for their sponsorship and to help keep ODTUG healthy and strong. As you may or may not know, the conference app has a dedicated area for sponsors to have a virtual presence on the to market their products and services. I encourage all attendees to spend some time with each vendor this week, learn about those companies helping to make this conference a success. So as a titanium sponsor, we begin with a brief opportunity to tell you why you should really visit our virtual booth. My company, Applied OLAP, creates software that complements Oracle products, particularly in the EPM space. Our flagship product, the Dodeca Spreadsheet Management System, is the world's only high productivity spreadsheet application platform. It combines the best features of Hyperion financial reporting, Oracle Smart View, and Oracle Planning with built-in low-code or no-code accessibility, enabling Oracle customers to build robust and secure tailored applications. Dodeca is deployed for mission-critical systems at some of the world's largest companies, including previous Kscope presenters Wells Fargo, Manulife Financial, Abbott, GE, Principal Financial, Nestle, and the Four Seasons Hotels and Resorts. In addition to Dodeca, our Drillbridge software complements Oracle on-premise EPM and cloud EPM product lines to provide add-on drill-through capability. We're pleased to announce that last Friday, after more than 2 years of development effort, we released our Dodeca 8 software featuring our new SJET technology. SJET technology enables Dodeca customers to save significant amounts of time by enabling multiple S-based retrievals to be performed simultaneously from a single workbook. Customer trials of this technology have shown performance boosted by 300% or more, thus reducing the time used to assemble information and increasing the time available to analyze that information. Along with SJET technology, Dodeca 8 has significant improvements in the performance of variance analysis, capture, and reporting, and has added beefed-up security, including support for single sign-on. We've also been tracking a trend of significant growth in the size of corporate Excel workbooks. We identified these issues, the issues behind that growth, and coined a term for it. We call it EZD, or Excel zombie disease. Dodeca 8 introduces a unique new capability to analyze Excel workbooks and optionally clean obsolete content from those files. If you'd like to learn more, several of our customers will be talking about their Dodeca experiences this week. The Kroger Company will talk about how they leverage Dodeca in the world's largest Oracle Cloud Financials implementation. LexisNexis has a session where they focus on how they save an estimated 280 days per quarter using Dodeca. Vertiv will talk about their new Dodeca-based workforce planning application, and Lennox International will present on how they leverage the free 60-day Dodeca proof of concept to prove the value they'll get from the product. I'll also be doing a couple of sessions, Introduction to Dodeca 8, and Reducing Spreadsheet Risk and Maintenance through Better Spreadsheet Design. Be sure to join those sessions. It's now my honor to introduce the Kscope21 keynote speaker. Scott Spendolini started working with Oracle in 1996, and through the years, he started and ran his own consulting company based around Apex, worked for Global SI, and now serves as a senior director at Oracle. Scott will tell us how Oracle was able to step up and build a suite of mission-critical systems for governments all over the world to help combat the COVID-19 pandemic. These solutions were designed, developed, and deployed quickly, which should not come as a surprise to anyone given it's Oracle Apex. Please put your virtual hands together for our Kscope21 keynote speaker, Mr. Scott Spendolini.
Thanks so much, Tim. It's truly an honor to be here as the 2021 keynote speaker for Kscope. I'll be honest, this doesn't really compare to the typical opening session with the bright lights and the loud music and all that kind of stuff. But the good news is it gives me a platform to kind of inject my bad sense of humor pretty much anywhere I'd like. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody's laughing at every joke I tell. So that definitely makes it a little bit easier for me to do this keynote this year. And before we jump in, obviously, I mean, just such an unmeasurable loss with Joel's passing. I want to try to keep it light and tell a little story about Joel that kind of relates back to keynotes. Back in 2006 or 2007, we did the Apex Exposed conference in Dallas, just outside the Dallas airport. And Joel was the keynote speaker. And like anything he did, tons of preparation, the utmost professionalism. He just got up there and did his thing and did just a fantastic job at the keynote. We're looking through all the different reviews, perhaps later that day, or it might have even been the next day. You know, all of them come back, 5 out of 5, excellent content, great presentation, except one. And this one simply said, typical Oracle sales pitch. I can't tell you how much that bothered Joel. He took it more than personally, and I think he made it his mission to never, ever disappoint anybody in anything he's done. He was just so taken back that somebody in that group, he didn't work hard enough to prepare, or he just couldn't make everybody feel like they spent a good quality hour with him. Now, I don't agree with that comment at all. I will admit, though, perhaps at other keynotes and maybe even other sessions that Joel gave, my feedback form was pretty much filled out the same way. Typical Oracle sales pitch. And he knew. He definitely knew. So again, let's talk a little bit about what we've done over the last 15 months. And it's been a weird 15 months. It feels either like 6 years or 3 weeks. I'm not really sure which one. Oracle basically stepped up right around mid-April when President Trump and Larry Ellison got together and basically said, hey, we could build you a system. And we built this system, designed this system. The first one that we built was called TLS. One that followed shortly after was called PMS, just continues Oracle's streak of not really naming products well. But this system is an Apex system. We'll talk about it in a little bit more detail in a second. A to Z from beginning to deployment was just under 2 weeks. We worked on a lot of systems over the last 15 months or so. And as you can see here, we didn't like holidays, right? We had releases November 23rd, I think, was the first OHMS. vSafe, DCH, and Depop, December 14th. Why go live with one when you can go live with 3 all on the same day? Then fast follow January, additional OHMS implementations. And now in May, the GPAS system in conjunction with Oxford University. So let's talk a little bit more about each one and what was involved here. You've probably seen, or many of you have seen, Shakib talking about this, the therapeutic learning system and the patient management system. These were the original systems that were built literally in front of Oracle executives, HHS leadership, doctors, people with PhDs and microbiology and epidemiologists and the whole 9 yards. Literally building the system in front of them and changing it just wowed everybody. And being able to have that level of flexibility with Apex made it the ideal solution to get in here and solve some of these problems. We had no idea what we needed to build, right? It was literally kind of dictated to us as we built out this initial system, right down to the theme, right? The theme that we originally were going to launch with, Larry didn't like, so we had to change it. And the screenshot here that you're looking at is the theme that it was deployed in. The next system that I was hired to tackle was something called CoVPN. And again, it's not a VPN. CoVPN stands for Coronavirus Prevention Network. There we go again with the names. CoVPN, instead of 2 weeks, I had 3 weeks to do, right? So we had a whole extra week to figure out what are we going to do with this. Essentially, the CoVPN system was a survey to intake volunteers for the COVID vaccine trials. So these were the people who literally said, yeah, I want to be first, give me the shot, and signed up. And basically, if they met the criteria, they were enrolled in the different vaccine trials. The picture you're seeing here on the left, these are actual volunteers who then submitted video testimonials, which we stitched together and created a couple PSAs with. We had a hard time. We found an actor who wasn't working by the name of Harrison Ford to narrate it. And one of the producers was another guy who's, I guess he had a TV show and did a couple movies, Ashton Kutcher. I don't know if you've heard of him, but I have his personal email. I haven't used it yet, just in case this whole Apex thing doesn't work out for me. At least I've got it in. But working with these people, specifically the people from HHS, from NIH, from NIAID, from Fred Hutch Research Center, from the University of Washington, we were able to build this survey and go live with it literally in 3 weeks. And it was only because of Apex that we could basically pivot, because we didn't have the survey questions until roughly halfway through week 2. So imagine building a survey as a shell and then kind of plugging in the data as we needed to. Once going live, we had all kinds of unforeseen issues that we had to deal with. Different sites that were recruiting volunteers would hoard the volunteers. So we had to pivot and build functionality into the site system that prevented them from doing that. We actually enabled a very sophisticated Oracle map-based solution that lets sites see where the volunteers were so they could adjust what we called their catchment areas. Again, no one knew what this was going to be. And only with Apex were we able to build this and deploy it literally in 3 weeks. This site continues to function today, by the way. There's at least 2 or 3 trials going on, mostly for juvenile vaccines, as well as other manufacturers' COVID vaccine. The next thing that we tackled was something called the Oracle Health Management System. And this system has been deployed in multiple countries, and in some cases, the same country more than once, to combat different pathogens. So Ghana, Rwanda, Senegal, Tasmania, and as well as a number of different countries, which will come on board in the next few weeks or few months, are currently using this system to help vaccinate their populations. So going live in Rwanda, we didn't have a COVID vaccine back in January that was available. So we went live with yellow fever, and they used this to vaccinate, I believe, 40,000 people in just a week or two. It was unbelievable the scale at which they were able to get in there and distribute and administer these vaccines. If you look over on the right-hand side, there's one of the recipients of the vaccine with the card. Looks a heck of a lot like the US card, but now everything is electronic, right? All the vaccination events have been stored securely in the Oracle Cloud. So if for whatever reason they need to present proof, they could show their QR code. We could scan that and instantly determine whether or not they've received which vaccine. And again, I think it was Rwanda that actually went live with the yellow fever, and then eventually with COVID. We've also used this system for HPV, and we continue to use it with the COVID-19 vaccine across the world. Probably the biggest Apex application ever. We feel it's that because by the number of users and by the number of page views is vSafe. vSafe, many of you actually may be users of, right? So after you've received your COVID vaccination here in the US, you may or may not have gotten a brochure that talks about enrolling in vSafe. So we built vSafe with close collaboration with the CDC to provide an after vaccination surveillance system. There have literally been millions of users and tens of millions of check-ins that have happened on vSafe since the launch on December 14th. If you look in the middle, that's my check-in profile. Obviously, I took a screenshot and masked all my personal data. And if you look at the right side here, that's a photo from my mom. She is a user of vSafe and was able to go through and use it without any help from me, which is probably the first time she did anything on her iPad or iPhone without much help from me. But she used it and was proud to use it. My whole family's used it. My son, my daughter, my wife, everyone I talk to has used it. Even the CVS where I got my shot, they weren't giving out the brochures. They are now. But vSafe is monumental because of the instant ease of use of surveillance that is being done that's never really been done at this scale or with this level of uptake. For instance, the New England Journal of Medicine released a study recently with data that was collected by vSafe that offered very reassuring news from pregnant women who took the COVID vaccine. During the trials, we didn't have a lot of pregnant women, as you can imagine, to determine what the efficacy and the effects were. But during the actual vaccine, rest assured that there are no significant or side effects different than any other person who's taken the vaccine if you are in fact pregnant. So that alone was a huge milestone that the CDC was able to do because of vSafe. Underneath vSafe, or in conjunction, we released 2 other systems on December 14th. And again, the challenges there, I can't overemphasize. Going live with one system is stressful. Going live with 3, literally within 24 hours, I do not recommend. We did it. Not something I'm going to plan to do again, but we're definitely proud of the work we did. So in conjunction with vSafe, we launched a system called DCH, Data Clearinghouse. What this system does is track all of the vaccination events from the 85 jurisdictions here in the United States. Think of a jurisdiction as a state, a federal partner, or a commercial partner. All that information is compiled in a big old secure Oracle database and then sent over to CDC so that they can have the high-level metrics. Many nights I spent screaming at Lester Holt on the nightly news because the numbers that he was reporting were slightly different than the live numbers. So thankfully, I'm over that phase, and I no longer scream at the news, at least for that reason. Over on the right here, you see somebody packing the either Moderna or Pfizer vaccine with dry ice. They had to be shipped in what they call the igloo, which was this custom little box built because of the low temperatures that were required to store the vaccines. And we built a system called VPOP. There we go with the names again, which stands for the VTRAX Provider Order Portal. So it's an acronym within an acronym. This system was used by commercial and federal partners to order the vaccine. So if you got your vaccine at a CVS or a Walgreens or a Costco or in prison, and I'm not judging you, but if you did, VTRAX was the system that we used to get that vaccine to you, or VPOP rather. VPOP, we kind of built it on a dare. With the Warp Speed folks, they said they had another vendor solution and they described what it needed to be. We went ahead over the weekend and built it out and gave them a demo on Monday, and they decided to go with VPOP instead. So again, just another, testament to the flexibility and the speed of Apex, is we could build stuff quickly and then even better than what the intended solution was going to be. The last system I want to talk about is our latest effort, which is called GPAS, the Global Pathogen Analysis System. We're aiming to find variants of concern with this system. Wait a minute, that's the wrong variant of concern. There we go. That's the Delta variant of the COVID virus, which, as you've heard on the news, is making its way around the United States. GPAS is going to be a massive system that we use in conjunction with Oxford University. They're doing the genetic side. We're going to handle the IT side. This will enable researchers all over the globe to take a sample of COVID, analyze it, and then push those results to the Oracle Cloud, where we will analyze it with what's called the SP3 algorithm designed by the Oxford researchers. That will tell us whether or not this is a run-of-the-mill strain or a new, what we call, variant of concern strain. Being able to enable researchers everywhere on the planet to be able to simply upload files and have them processed in the background is going to make it a lot easier for us to understand where those variants are and then initiate the contact tracing to combat them. So in the spirit of a typical Oracle sales pitch, I did need a slide that kind of relates everything back here. Why Apex? Speed and security, right? We had to get this done fast and it had to be secure. We didn't know most of our requirements. They were being defined as we developed, and quite often we would go forward 3 steps and have to walk it back a step or 2 and then go forward in a slightly different direction. Everything was about adapting. All these things no one could have thought of day one, but as we deployed systems and saw how the users use them, we had to adapt and change. We also had a tremendous leverage and integration with Oracle Cloud. Apex alone is not the answer here. It's Apex plus compute nodes, object storage nodes for transmitting test results, analytics for discovering trends in the data, obviously the database for being the data warehouse and the transactional system to store the data, messaging, all the vSafe and PMS notifications going out over text message, and then ATP and ADW to either build on-demand development systems, QA systems, or analytic systems that our customers can use. These weren't projects, these were missions. And this was a calling, and I can't describe the level of effort that we all went through to build these systems. 18-hour days were normal. We couldn't be late, right? We didn't know when the deadline was, but we knew that we couldn't miss it. And we didn't really know it was 14th December until probably the 10th of December. everybody was watching, right? If the vaccine launched and there wasn't systems to support it, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. So we had a lot of incentive to get these systems done, and we did. I can't do this presentation without giving credit to the federal and clinical partners. These are some of the hardest working people I've ever met. They were here way before we stepped in March, and they're going to be here once all this is over, and they're going to continue to do their jobs. Just a whole newfound respect for everybody that we worked with, being on calls late, early in the morning, weekends, weekdays, you name it. They were there literally every step of the way. So anyone who knew Joel knew that he lived his life with passion, whether it was passion for Apex, his family, his friends, his faith, literally anything that had even a little bit to do with the state of Ohio, and for some unknown reason, the Cleveland Browns. Joel was always all in anything he did. That passion was always on display at any Apex event he presented at. Look closely. A lot of you are likely in one of these photos taken at user group meetings across the globe. Also, notice one thing. You're not going to see Joel in any of these photos. That's because he was always the one taking the pictures. Time and time again, coaxing the crowd to get excited and raise their hands for the ultimate user group selfies celebrating Apex. I've been involved with ODTUG since first presenting HTML-DB, almost 20 years ago, back in 2003. And I could tell you that while Joel was one of, if probably not the most passionate person I've ever known, he's not alone. Take a virtual look around you. ODTUG is full of passionate professionals who willingly give up their time, their free time, to help run and foster this amazing organization. From the board members to the presenters to those who even volunteered an hour at a community event a couple years ago, to the folks at YCC who keep everything on track, including the fact that this presentation is running 2 minutes long. Every bit of passion from each of us helps forge the bonds that ODTUG has created and will continue to create far into the future. So as you settle in to learn from a truly amazing group of passionate professionals over the next few days, take a moment, reflect on your passions and how you could use them to make you a better version of you, whether that's at work, at home, or even both. While Joel may be gone, this awesome Apex and ODTUG community that he helped create and the passion that drives it is still here, and as far as I can tell, ain't going anywhere anytime soon. We as a community will continue to thrive. We'll help one another along the way, and ultimately continue what Joel and so many others like him have started. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the conference, and we'll see all y'alls, I know the plural of that now that I'm a Texan, in lovely Grapevine up I-35 next year. Please be sure to pack your own power. You may need it. Thank you.
That was an awesome keynote, Scott. Thank you for sharing with us the wonderful work you guys are doing. And please, 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 please keep doing it. One of the things we normally do during the general session at Kscope is announce where we're going to be next. To make that announcement, let me pass the torch and introduce you to the Kscope22 conference chair, Karen Cannell. Karen?
You think by now I know the unmute button. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you very much, Scott. And now I know we've already announced our location for Kscope22, but here's a little teaser to get you guys just as excited as I am about being back together in person. Looking forward to Grapevine. Now planning ahead a bit because we like to keep you informed. I'm excited to announce that for Kscope23, we'll be going to the Colorado Rockies. We'll be at the Gaylord Rockies Convention Center in Aurora, Colorado, and I hope to see you there as well, another place we can go together. And here's a bit of a preview about our Denver area location. And with that, enjoy the Kscope21 virtual event. Carry it forward. Have a great conference, everyone.